Hey everyone, Dan here. We are after market close on Friday, March 19th, and I wanted to take a look at the price targets that we had sent out on Sunday and see how we fared since they're weekly price targets, see how we did now that it's closed on Friday. And then I also wanted to look at the dip buys that we had sent out yesterday, see how they held up throughout the market session today. Before we get started, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also feel free to comment below if you have tickers that you'd like me to take a look at, or if you have thoughts or questions that you'd like to share. All right, so let's kick things off with AMC. We're going to go through the price targets first. So on Sunday, we had sent out this sort of like potential bearish zone, sort of like a moderate or sort of like sideways zone, and then sort of a bullish price target for the week. And this was Monday, and so we very quickly got into our bullish price target, and I thought, whoa, maybe this is going to be a tremendous week. But we ended up basically just staying in that bullish price target for the whole week. So I feel pretty good about this as a price target. We can do an additional analysis to sort of see how the movement is trending. I was a little sort of sad when it made this attempt to get back in this channel, and it just couldn't keep up with it. I mean, it was a pretty aggressive channel, so that would have moved the price up pretty quickly, so I understand why it couldn't hold it, but that would have been like really an incredible run to see. So we'll see what happens, and we'll send out sort of fresh analysis on these before the week gets started and set ourselves some new price targets to look at. Palantir. So Palantir, as I've been tweeting about a bit, it is just like incredible how drawn it is to this yellow price zone, this 24.28. It just cannot leave it alone. Like, look at it. Comes to it, gets stuck there, tries to push off, gets stuck there. So it's having a really hard time not only getting to 30, but even just pushing off of this yellow zone. And so it ended the week still in a price target that we had set, but it was the bearish price target. So it fell through here through the week. So basically had a bit of a down week, and it's sitting in our bearish zone. But I think solid call out, because I knew that yellow zone was so magnetic for this stock, and that it was likely going to like retest it or come down and get stuck there again if it sold off. So I mean, if you're long in Palantir, it's good that it's getting stuck here, because this is sort of solidifying as incredibly strong support. But I'm sure for folks who are itching for it to get back into the 30s, like myself, it's sort of frustrating that it can't hold anything above this. FUBO. These were my zones for this week, the same sort of criteria. It didn't finish in any of the zones, but it did have a pretty solid week, in my opinion, because it's doing a good job of staying off of this bearish zone. And my hope is that it's sort of starting to hug this 32.58, and that will sort of like use up all the resistance, selling pressure that's currently there, and allow it to develop support, because then there's pretty clear running room up to about 36. This has the potential for like a really good run streak for this stock if it can get that support at 32.58. We'll add this to sort of like next week's price targets too, so we'll see how it develops. Nndm. This one ended up in my bearish price zone. There's several channels that I was hoping it would hold. Most recently this one today, which I think I drew it on the 5-minute chart. Right in this time frame, I was saying, if we can hold this channel, we'll be in good shape. But same mantra for Nndm, basically, in my opinion, until it gets to 12.49 and gets that support level under control, it's not really going to fly. I think it's got to get that and establish that to really get there. SNDL ended up in our sort of like moderate price zone, our sort of like expected price zone. And it had this big run up on some good news, but then it just basically developed this sad face pattern, which it has a tendency to do. There's a lot of these that you'll see if you zoom out on SNDL. And it's just sort of like a volatile stock, and it runs up like quite heavy and then sells off quite heavy. It has a really hard time kind of gaining consistent momentum and really building like a longer term price floor and continuing to push off. It just constantly does these sad face kind of patterns. So we'll see how it plays out. And Gamestop, I know a lot of folks have been sort of in freak out territory with Gamestop. I actually think, it's quite fine. I'm not worried about it. I put in this potential flag that's coming if we continue to hold this floor. And basically, this would run us into this 1224 price zone. So like if we draw this out, gotta go a little bit further. So this would put us in sort of like flagging out territory, which would mean that it should at least stop this sideways motion. But if it can hold this trend line, and this would put it flagging out like at open on the 26th. So that's 1 week from today. So next Friday, it'll be interesting to see if something doesn't happen before then, what happens when it gets to this point here. Because it's obviously has that 224 as pretty solid resistance right now since it fell through it. So we'll see on Gamestop. Sort of had the opposite week of AMC. It very quickly got to my red zone and then stayed there. Whereas AMC got to the green zone and stayed there. So we'll set new price targets that I'll send out on Sunday. So just keep your eyes peeled for that. And I'll specifically name that video price targets. So you'll know what you're seeing. Let's look at the dip plays that we had sent out last night and see how they fared today. So I would have sent this video out after yesterday, so it was after this had happened. And basically with Mara here, what I had said was, the reason I thought it was a really good dip buy was because it had come back down, had double, triple bottomed at this area where there was previously a ton of buying pressure. And so I was looking for it to push off, and that's exactly what it did today. So this had a good opportunity, and now it's in this sort of like potential really strong springboard level of 43.32, or I guess 43.21. And so I'm hoping that we can get a big push off of there, maybe very, very early next week. AONE, this is another one that sort of I've been trying to get it to get back into its channel, but it hasn't. But that was, basically the idea on the dip buy here was that it has a lot of levels of support before it would really have a pretty significant drop. So while this previously was my ideal buy zone, now that I'm holding AONE, that's not really the case. But, I would continue to watch it through these support zones and see sort of like where a stronger bounce might be coming. Obviously, it's had a hard time since leaving the channel, so we'll keep an eye on that. CCIV, I thought it was potentially going to flag out here. That obviously didn't happen because it had this additional tremendous sell-off, but it did get caught by this previous support of 26.89 that we had drawn in. And so, if it can hold that, CCIV does still have a lot of good momentum and interest around it. And so I don't see a reason why it couldn't get a ton of buying pressure back and build off of that support zone. So I'm hoping it continues to hug this one, even if it does it for a couple of days, to sort of strengthen the support area and then have a big push off. Space. So this is my buy zone from many, many days ago. I had initially bought it when it hit here. And then I thought yesterday with the dip that it was like getting into that zone potentially again and might be just a good opportunity to buy more of that exact same dip zone. So we did see a really good push off today. And now it's sort of fighting this kind of double area here, which is challenging because these levels are so close together. So, it might have a bit of a tough time there, 33.20. But if it can continue to push, it does have a couple of good zones to run through coming up. And then hopefully if we get to this area, what we'll want to look for is it to not like triple top out here. So we don't want it to top out there again and push down. We want it to sort of blow past it. And then it'll probably come back down to test like 3604 or something. But we want to see that initial like strong push through 3650. Apologies if you hear the baby in the background. There's just only so much that I can do. But I'll try to filter it out during the editing if I can. But otherwise, we're almost done, so hang in there. SOS, speaking of hanging in there, I know a lot of people are sort of like, what is happening? I think they're just sort of like waiting for it to explode, and it's just taking a lot longer than folks would like. But, patience is what it is. So here's sort of like a channel that I'm just sort of noticing right now. So we could be in this channel here, which would give us a nice area to watch in terms of like dip buy zones as it comes toward the bottom of the channel, and then take profit zones as it goes through the top. And so let's keep watching that, but let's hope that it can hold that channel, because this gives us really good price predictability until it leaves the channel. So all good things come to an end, and all channels eventually break. So but let's take it while we have it. It has a ton of good support zones up here. So and it did this morning, if I'm remembering right, that it was SOS. Yeah, let's look at it on the 5-minute. So this morning it had come up, and I thought that it was going to be showing really strong, but it just wasn't able to bust through this 804. That's an incredibly tough level for it. But just remember that those incredibly tough levels turn into incredibly strong support once the stock establishes over it. And lastly, Nndm. This one this morning I was also really excited about, because when it had this push up here, I was glad to see that it didn't get stuck with these like recent tops that happened in the pre-market. And I thought, well, it's stretched up there. Now if it can basically build off that 1037 level, but it went through it, but it didn't get through it enough, and it just got hammered back down to it and has dropped down to here. So, I know that we also looked at this one in the other, the price targets video, but just wanted to call out that, we were looking for a dip buy in this one as well today. And while it ended green, it was kind of like, if you zoom out to the 1 hour, it's a pretty sideways day, especially since that's where we ended yesterday. So, we'll keep analyzing Nndm, because I do think that once we get to that 1249, there's potentially like a longer term uptrend to be had there, and that can sustain. So I hope everyone had a good trading week, and look for sort of like a bunch of videos to drop on Sunday night as you sort of think about what your trades are going to be starting Monday market open. And is there a holiday or something coming up? I don't even know. There might be a market holiday coming up soon. I don't know if it's Monday or not. I haven't looked at the calendar, but maybe. But anyway, I'll put out a bunch of videos Sunday night to sort of help share some ideas and some things to look for in the week ahead. And have a great weekend, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.